Now, I find this super interesting because it looks like Kristian is really going against the mold here. And the question is, would he be any faster if he wasn't as big as he is? I mean, I'm not sure an Olympic gold medalist and now Ironman record holder needs to get any faster, but it's worth asking the question. So what is up, nutrition nerds, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the one and only Kristian Blummenfelt and whether his body composition is optimal for triathlon. Weight and body composition are clearly important for triathlon, but Kristian's is not necessarily the typical triathlete's build that you see. Now, if you're new here, by the way, then hey, I'm James, and I'm a sports nutritionist, and I do videos on all sorts of nutrition topics, and today is one that really interested me. As part of my master's degree in sports nutrition, I did a lot of work around body composition and how that links to athlete performance. And as a triathlete myself, it's super important for me because, well, the theory is clear. The lighter you are, the easier your bike and your run is. Lower weight means a higher power to weight ratio, which essentially means you'll go faster. And this theme is definitely what you see with a lot of professional triathletes. You'll see that they have a very lean frame and not much fat at all, and generally don't look overly powerful. Obviously, I use powerful in a very loose sense here, by the way. But when you look at Kristian's body shape and composition, it does look quite different to a lot of those triathletes. Have a look at some of these shots and you'll see the difference. These are Jan Frodeno, Lange, Alistair Brownlee, and Kristian's Norwegian teammate, Gustav Iden. These guys have more of that classic triathlete frame, whereas Kristian looks like he has a heck of a lot more to him. By the way, how good was Kristian's run leg at the Olympics? He just looks like he's in such a world of pain, but he's just powering through. It's so good. Now actually, if you look at the BMI of these guys compared to Kristian, they're really quite different too. This data is using height and weight from the Professional Triathletes Organisation and Super League Triathlon, so we've got to be careful with that and the fact that we're using a metric like BMI to compare here, but I think it gives a good indication. You can see Kristian's BMI is far higher than the other guys. Now, I find this super interesting because it looks like Kristian is really going against the mold here. And the question is, would he be any faster if he wasn't as big as he is? I mean, I'm not sure an Olympic gold medalist and now Ironman record holder needs to get any faster, but it's worth asking the question. Now, I have my own thoughts on this, but I thought I would actually play you a couple of snippets from something which Harold Tveiten, who's the Norwegian national tri-team coach, by the way, said in an interview on a podcast hosted by scientifictriathlon.com.
In Norwegian, we are in one way quite relaxed about the nutrition. We are not the way that we are force some athletes into a specific weight. We don't have that regime. That is not allowed. But as I mentioned earlier, we have a nutritionist who is working really closely with the athletes, so they are eating well and healthy. And I have to say, for our athletes, it is almost the question of getting in enough calories. It's very, very seldom that the same nutritionists are talking about a controlled weight loss for an athlete. It's mostly to get in enough calories to be at the optimum race weight. And I think the high performance sport, especially in endurance sport, it is most athletes will actually have trouble keep up the weight.
And a little bit later in the interview, he said this about body weight.
I will not say what is exact weight you should weight to be at the best at the Olympic race or in an Ironman, but if you have a body composition where you have too much muscle or too fat, of course you need to work on that. And it is a limit, but I will not say that you need to weigh so many kilos, because that could be totally wrong, because everybody is very different.
I think what he's said here is so important for triathletes to hear, and it's something that I would echo from a personal and professional point of view. Everyone is different. Some people will naturally work better with more muscle and more fat, and some people will work better at a lighter weight. This is individual, and it's something which generally athletes work out over their careers. However, there is one thing which is absolutely universal, no matter what weight or body size you are, and that's properly fueling your training and your recovery. One thing that I constantly find as a nutritionist is that triathletes are surprised at just how many calories and, importantly, carbohydrates they need to fuel their training. High volume periods can easily call for 6-10 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight per day, sometimes even more. And that amount of carbohydrates on its own is about 2,500 to 3,000 calories. So add in protein and fat and we're looking at 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day on average. That's actually really quite difficult to do, especially if you do this day after day. And as Iden mentions in the interview, it's actually more of a focus to keep elite athletes' weight up rather than worrying about trying to lose weight. So I think this brings us around nicely to our initial question of whether Kristian Blummenfelt's composition, size, weight, whatever part of it you want to look at, is optimal for triathlon performance. I think that the answer here is that it seems to be optimal for him. And that means he'll perform at his best. Unfortunately, triathlon has a bit of a stigma around weight and look, and there can be some real negative consequences of being too light or not sufficiently fueling your training. And unfortunately, again, this is something I see as a nutritionist, is that triathletes feel they need to get as lean and light as possible to race well. That usually means not eating enough to fuel their training, which actually is going to do the opposite when it comes to race performance. Not fueling their training is much more likely to harm their performance and mean that they run into the negative effects of being in an energy deficient state. Hopefully, as triathletes see that you can be an incredible athlete like Kristian with more muscle mass and a generally bigger frame, they'll start to understand that the real thing is to aim for consistent long-term training. And the key to that is fueling it well and recovering properly and actually not worrying overly about your body weight. So if you take away one thing from this video, it's to fuel your training and your recovery properly. And on that note, this channel is all about nutrition and how to fuel your triathlon training and racing properly. So if you don't already, then make sure that you press the subscribe button and the notification icon. And while you're at it, be an awesome triathlete and give the video a thumbs up. Now, my question to you is, do you think Kristian can win the Ironman World Championships this year? If not, who do you think will win it? Now, I did another video where I looked at Jan Frodeno's nutrition intake during his Collins Cup match in 2021 and just how impressive it was. So if you're interested in that, you can watch it by clicking the video here.